Hey everyone, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with a couple series that I've made it a goal of mine to finish in 2022. There are 6 of them. I'm not very good at finishing series. I'm really terrible at it, honestly. There are so many where I've read one book and thought I'll continue on with this and then never do. I mean, of course there are books where I read the first one and I'm like, I know I don't take this, but the problem that I have is that I read the first book and I'm like, I liked that. And then I just say, okay. And then next year I'm like, maybe I should finish that series. But then I have to read the first one over again because I've forgotten all the fine details. And I'm really a fine details person. And then I have to reread the first one. Then I read the first one and I'm like, great. And then it's like, I have to stop doing that. So I've got 6 series here where, except for one of them, I own all the books in the series at this point. I've read the first one. I've decided to continue on with the series and I just haven't. So I'm going to tell you about those. The first one here is the sequel to The Descent by Jeff Long. This is Deeper by Jeff Long. And The Descent is one of the most absolutely banana stories I've ever read, where there are these underground humanoid things, not chud, but kind of close. And throughout history, humans have had these experiences with them, and there's like this, things that they've linked in history that must be these kind of creatures, but now we're seeing them more and more often, and eventually the military gets involved with it. Humans find these vast underground tunnel systems. Some go so far into the earth that they're underneath the ocean, and it's just, man, such a crazy story. It was really fantastic, and I'd like to read the sequel. I've heard it's not quite as good, but that's okay. I'd like to, get the story wrapped up. Okay, next is the, what is this called? The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. I read the first book forever ago. I'm gonna have to reread the first book when I get to these, but this is about a kind of like a found family group of friends, and there is a supernatural thing about them. They all go to the same school, so it's kind of like a sort of an academic setting. Not super academic-y, but I don't know. I really can't even tell you much of what happens in the first book, except for I remember like a big reveal, which obviously I don't want to tell you guys, so I really need to read the first one again. I know this is a much beloved series, a YA fantasy or paranormal series, I guess, more like, and yeah, I'd like to finish it. I got the 4th book for Christmas, and I can just read the whole fucking thing and be done with it. I'd also like to finish the Scythe series. Does this have a name? Like, does the series have a name? I can't remember. I feel like it might, like the Thunderhead, or I don't know. I read the first book, Scythe. I actually read it, like half of it, probably like 4 or 5 years ago. Zach bought it for me, and I was like, I don't dislike this, but I'm not really grooving on it, and I put it down, and then now I think it would be 2 years ago. What the heck? That can't be right. I mean, not 2 years ago, but I think it was in 2020. I picked it up again and I finished it in like 2 days. It was so exciting. And so I've got the 2nd and 3rd books, and the 3rd book is real chunky, but I'm excited to finish it. This is about these 2, okay, well, I guess I should kind of explain the world that this takes place in is sort of utopian, and people don't die of normal injuries or illnesses or of old age anymore. So there is this organization, they call them Scythes, and they have to glean people, which is killing them. And because it's random, but because someone is like choosing specific people to be killed, the Scythes don't really have a great reputation. I mean, people, I guess, know logically that it has to happen, but when, your dad is randomly chosen to be killed, you're going to be upset about it. And these 2 teenagers get chosen to be the apprentices for a scythe, and it's kind of unheard of that two people are chosen for this, but it becomes kind of a competition to see who would adapt better to the job, and things get really interesting. I really liked it. I thought it starts out really slow, but it really ramps up near the end, which is probably why I finished it so fast once I picked up the second half of it, you know, and I'd just really like to see where the story goes. All right, this series, I don't have the rest of it. What am I trying to say? I don't have the full series on hand right now, but I have the next two books in the Miriam Black series. I can't remember if this is a 6 or 7 book series, right? Because these are 4 and 5. So I can't remember if there's just one after this or if there's 2 after these 2. Miriam Black is a woman who, when she touches somebody, when she touches their skin, she can see how they're going to die. And Miriam is such a hilarious character. She's probably one of my very favorite literary characters I've come across in my reading life. She's just... she's like I don't know, like one of those weird strawberry candies that's like a hard candy, but it has like a chewy center on the inside, like a weird gummy jelly-y center. And she's kind of like that, you know, she's really hard and she's rough around the edges, but inside she's trying her best to be a pretty good person, even though sometimes she has to do bad things. And she's just great. I mean, I can't really tell you where the series goes after the first book, but I just think that Chuck Wendig does a really great job of making each book feel fresh. It's not like the same repetitive thing over and over again, where she like sees someone's death and tries to prevent it or something like that, you know. Each book has been really a blast so far, and I'm looking forward to books 4 and 5. And hopefully 6, and maybe 7 if there is a 7. I'd also like to finish the Area X series, the Southern Reach Trilogy, that's what it's called, by Jeff VanderMeer. Books 2 and 3. I reread Annihilation in 2021, and I felt similarly. I didn't love it, but I've heard really mixed reviews on... I've just had people tell me either if you didn't like the first book, you will like the second and third, or if you didn't like the first book, you definitely won't like the second and third, so I just don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can get these on audio from the library, so that's probably how I will do them, because I do think my experience with the first book was better when I listened to the audio. Although, like I said, I really felt similarly both times I read it. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see where this goes. The first book's about this area, they call it Area X, and nature's kind of gone wrong there, and the government has sent these expeditions in, and things always seem to go wrong. Now we're following someone who is part of this expedition. I can't remember exactly what field of science she studies. I want to say biologist, but I could be wrong. And we're following her in there with another group, or a group of like 4 or 5 women, and you know, things don't go well. Okay, and lastly, books 2 and 3 of the First Law Trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. These are big ol' fantasy books, and I really enjoyed the first one. It's got a great cast of characters. I don't know if this is supposed to be like grimdark fantasy. I feel like my impression of it before I started it was, but I don't really hold that opinion so much after reading the first one, but I could be totally wrong, because I thought the first one was just like funny and quirky, and there's just a lot of fun characters in it, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to finishing this up. This is one of those series where, like, if you search like best fantasy series, best adult fantasy, it's very likely that these will show up. Just, you know, a well-loved series. So those are the 6 series I'm really hoping to finish up in 2022. I'm just gonna try hard. I don't know why my brain like doesn't want to do that, but it doesn't. And I don't necessarily love having like all these loose ends hanging out in my collection of books, you know what I mean? I feel like I've got so many interrupted projects almost, you know what I mean? It's like not completing 4-day projects, and it makes me kind of anxious a little bit when I think about it too much. So I'm not going to try to think about it too much. I'm just going to relax and read books because I know I like the first one, and why the heck wouldn't I like the other ones? I mean, I guess there is the chance too that I don't like the second and decide to DNF the series, but I don't really foresee that happening with any of these. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Let me know if you have read any of these series and what you thought about them, or if there's any series that you'd like to finish up if you're like me and are not very good with series. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great start of the new year. I will see you later. Goodbye.